Today I am joined by Lauren Mackay. Lauren is a dear friend of mine here in Calgary and someone who has made such an impact in the yoga community. Lauren is a 500-hour certified yoga teacher with nearly a decade of teaching experience across multiple different disciplines or types of yoga. Her teaching style is rooted in depth, authenticity, blending strength, mindfulness, and presence in a way that invites her students to not only move their bodies, but also connect more deeply to themselves. She is one of my favorite yoga teachers here, and I've told you that. Beyond teaching classes, Lauren is incredibly community focused. She shares her practice in several studios across Calgary. She leads workshops, both private, individual, and corporate groups, meeting people exactly where they are in their journey. Most excitingly, she has recently launched her own app. It's called Align, an online yoga and wellness platform designed to help people deepen their awareness, listen to their intuition, and embrace their unique journey towards alignment. Through this platform, Lauren is really expanding her reach, and she's creating a space where people can cultivate clarity, calm their mind, and strengthen their inner voice. Anytime, anywhere. I'm so excited for this conversation. Lauren is, like I said, one of my favorite yoga teachers here in the city. She's a friend of mine. We have been developing our friendship it's been over a year now, I would say, since we really connected. And I just feel so grateful that you are here today. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. What an intro.
I know. I did my research. I looked into her. She's got a beautiful website, and we'll be plugging all of that at the end. But to dive in, what I would like to know as a fellow yogi, we who do yoga, we all kind of have our own journey of what got us there. So can you share your story of how yoga first came into your life over 10 years ago and what kept you coming back to the mat and to the practice?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I grew up as a competitive gymnast. And so I was competing from the age of like 3 to 18 and was very much my life for so long. And when I turned 17, I just started feeling a bit of a shift towards like what else is out there? What else do I want to do? Because my whole life was consumed with training 5 days a week, leaving school early and like very disciplined around that sport. And yeah, when I was 17, I started feeling a nudge towards craving something else in my life. I had gone to my first yoga class probably around 14 years old, but really was on and off with the practice. And so, yeah, when I kind of was ending high school, I really wanted to try something else, and yoga was really what I fell into. So coming from such a movement background, yoga was such a new way for me to experience my body in a way that wasn't so like structured and defined, I would say. It really allowed me to kind of get more freedom outside of this like perfectionism that was the gymnastics world. And so that exploration really was what started allowing me to come back to my mat so often, because it really was freeing in my body. It allowed for there to be like that sense of escape almost from like the diligence that was the structure of my life for so long.
Wow, I love that. And also had no idea that you were a gymnast for
Yeah.
that long. 3 years old. I recently had a conversation about sports specialization from like such a young age, and what that can do, both positive and negative on the
Totally.
body. And I'm curious how doing maybe like a bunch of repetitive movements for so many years, how did that affect your practice? Like, say, flow yoga, for example.
Yeah, I mean, like with gymnastics, it's so precise. Like you need to be doing things like perfectly, exactly the same way every time to hit the routine, to hit the skill. I mean, over time, obviously the body adapts to like that sense of structure and form. And so I think that's why like I loved the yoga poses and like the flowiness of a practice, because it was like, oh, I get to move my body in like so many different directions rather than just this like tight knit form. So yeah, it really just created that sense of exploration rather than like point my toes and
Yeah.
straighten my leg.
Set of discipline. So it was almost like a rebel against
Yeah,
like the structure that was your life before.
totally.
Oh, I love that. And you know what? So many people, they find yoga through that physical practice.
Yeah.
It's very much asana. So for those who are listening, asana, it means posture in Sanskrit. And for you, it sounds like it was exactly
Oh,
that.
yeah.
It was really physical. And through, I mean, doing research, but also coming to your classes and some of your workshops, I see it in you that yoga, it's not just that. It is so much more spiritual and higher self. When did that pivot happen for you in your life where it was physical to then, oh, this is so much more?
Yeah. I mean, I would say the progression was gradual for me. It definitely started off so physical. Like it was the way I tapped into my own body, and it was like wanting to get to the deepest expression of the poses and like the advanced poses for so long. But I think in terms of like the transition towards the more spiritual aspect really started, I would say after high school, when I really felt quite lost in terms of like who I was as a person. I really felt so not grounded in like the confidence of who I was, and it took me a long time to be like, okay, who am I? What do I stand for? What's actually going on here? And so I have also like encountered a lot of anxiety in my life just progressively. So I just think like yoga really helped to develop not only a physical awareness of my body, but like such a awareness of my energetic body and like the narrative of the mind, that the passing thoughts and like how I'm actually speaking to myself. And so I think like yoga really starts to uncover and break open the parts of yourself that really are asking to be seen. And so I really think like that spiritual aspect just started to like layer in over time. And like through a spiritual practice, things get uncomfortable oftentimes more so before they get comfortable again. Yeah, I would say it's definitely just like a ride of like becoming who you want to become, and that journey of self-discovery really.
Yeah, totally. And I appreciate that share. You mentioned specifically like high school and coming out of high school. I can really relate to that. And I feel like a lot of people probably listening can too, because in those years when we're like, I mean, 17, 18, but even especially younger,
Mhm.
our hormones are all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're everywhere, and yet we're being asked these questions from school counselors and our peers and our parents and whoever else, like, "What are you gonna do with your
Yeah.
life?" Right?
There's pressure.
There's so much pressure, and so not only are we biologically going through it, there's also that external stuff that's like, "Hey, you've gotta figure this out while you're going through it."
Yeah.
So, what I know for me is it's really scary and almost goes against the grain to say like, "Hey," they're asking me like, "What's your job gonna be? What do you wanna be when you grow up?" And choosing yoga instead. How did you make that decision back in, I think it was 2016 that you
Mm.
did your first training to say, "Hey, I'm actually gonna go to India."
Yep.
How did you do that?
It's kind of a roundabout way, to be honest. Again, like coming out of high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. You're looking around at your peers, and everyone seems like they know exactly what's going on. Like everyone seems to have their path and direction. And so I did a semester of school in a program that just ended up not being right for me. It wasn't the right fit. So I ended up dropping out of that program, and I found myself in a gap year. So because again, I took a long time to kind of figure out like if I'm doing a degree, what the heck am I actually going to be doing? Like it needs to put me in a place that I want to be put in. I ended up applying too late to the program that I ended up wanting to be in, which is a business program in marketing. And so I found myself in that gap year, and I had already had been in my practice for some time, and I knew I wanted to become a yoga teacher very early on. And it was kind of like the stars felt like they just kind of aligned, where I just was given this space of time that I could go explore that. And India was very much a calling. Like, I really wanted to do my training in India. I really wanted it to be an immersive, intensive training. So I really wanted to just do it like all at once. And so, yeah, I did a ton of research, and it just turns out that the training that I did end up doing was in October, and it was like the perfect time for me to just like step into that with the space that I had.
Oh, that's so impressive too, to choose India of like all places. I've also done an intensive in my
Yeah.
training, but they say that India is, what do they call it? The stomach of the world because it just eats you alive.
Yeah, it really does.
That's
It's an
what they
intense place.
say. Yeah. So were you there 4 weeks or 6? How long were you there?
I think it was I also did like 2 weeks of travel prior to the training because I wanted to see the country.
Yeah. No, that's incredible. And if you're listening and you're like, I want to become a yoga teacher, whether you do an intensive or you don't, there's no right or wrong
Totally.
way to do it. I
Yeah,
think, like you said, it's personal preference and it needs to
exactly.
come as that calling. For me too, I went and did mine in Hawaii, which was
Yeah.
amazing.
Stunning.
But when you're immersed in it, I feel like you just get this experience, maybe why you and I relate in similar ways, where there's no noise, like there's no
Mm,
distractions from that connection to yourself.
exactly.
And I can see how your practice, not only in yourself, but how you teach too, is kind of unraveled from this physical thing, which is still a part of it, but to so much more of that like internal spiritual higher self because you immersed yourself in it deeply in India.
Totally. So think it's like very much the teachers as well. Like, I'm sure you felt this way about your teachers in your training. Like, you really have to kind of like connect with their viewpoint, their approach, and like what they stand for. And I think like if you are choosing to or looking into doing a teacher training, like really feeling that connection towards the people who are running it, the structure of the program, I think is really important.
Absolutely. So, on the topic of like health, obviously there's so many layers to what health is. And I
Mhm.
do want to continue to talk kind of on that physical and spiritual, like yoga, it's holistic, it's
Yeah.
all of it. So, in your now teaching journey, I want to talk about that a little bit more. Yes, you learned so much, but was there a specific time that you remember where yoga was kind of like this, call it a lifeline for you, where you were like, I am relying on this so much? And perhaps that's where you've decided to now build your own app and like bring in that passion to share it with others.
Yeah. I mean, I would say it's kind of there isn't like one specific circumstance, but I would say it would have been that lifeline. I think it's just always been that. Like, it's been such a constant in my life that it's just always something that I return back to. Again, because I've grown up in such like a movement oriented life, I need movement in my life. So whenever I feel scattered or stressed or anxious, like my practice is there for me in like so many different realms and different aspects. So yeah, I think it's just been like a progressive, like knowing that when life gets chaotic, which it always
As it
does,
is.
you have those like tools and those practices that you can fall back onto that like connect you back to yourself and connect you back to like what actually matters.
Oh my gosh, this reminded me of one time I was in a sauna, random story.
Yeah, yeah.
I was in a sauna somewhere, and this was before I was a yoga teacher. I just practiced yoga, but I met a yoga teacher, young little me. And I was like, oh, you must be so calm. And I remember she said, she's like, actually, yoga teachers are probably some of the most chaotic people.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can probably relate. And now I can because I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
we kind of like reach for this practice because we have so much chaos going on in our lives for whatever reason, whether it
Yeah.
be, our childhood or situational things that happen.
Totally.
But I get that too. I can relate where it's like, yeah, for me, there was kind of a specific, like pretty deep, dark point where I was like, okay, yoga, you are like, I'm going to hold on to you
Mhm.
with like dear life because I know you will save me. But now in every day, it's kind of like, yeah, I know if I'm feeling low, it'll help me come back to that baseline, that
Yep.
homeostasis, and kind of balance everything out. And I mean, the beauty in it too is the acceptance that life will have both and how it's such a teacher in that way, right? So you work both. I want to move into the app a little bit, but you
Mhm.
also you work one-on-one or like in corporate with people. Do you have a specific, call it like specialty, that you find when you're working with individuals that you help them discover?
I think it's really dependent on the person, to be honest. Like,
Mhm.
whenever I'm working with people, either one on one or in group settings, I like to have almost like a meet and greet moment, or like just so that we can get to know each other and like what the goals are of what they are hoping to achieve. Because, like you said, like the practice is really about meeting yourself and people where they're at. And so, it's not like a one size fits all sort of situation. I takes time. Like if you're, especially if we're working together for more longer periods of time, you kind of start to get that growth and that like renewal portion of the practice. Like it's just kind of the approach of like looking at the body, looking at what that person may know about their body, but may not know about their body as well. And like, for example, I was working with a girl for probably 2 years one on one, and I did private sessions with her. And she really focused so much on like wanting to be strong. She really wanted to do splits. She really
Mhm.
wanted to do handstands. So it's a very much a physical practice for her, which is totally fine and definitely a major part of the practice. But over time of working one on one with her, I really found that she was so busy mind that sometimes she wasn't in the practice even when we were there together. Like I could tell that she was kind of off somewhere else. And so I think it's like when we get to work together more often that I get to pick up on those things, and maybe I can offer you something that you didn't know you needed. For example, like I tried to work with her more on the meditation side of the practice, more of the stillness side of the practice, and like
Mm.
getting into her breath so that she can like be in her body so that she can do those poses.
No, that's so true. That makes so much sense. Every human is so different. From my experience with clients, with coaching clients, when I'm doing mindset coaching specifically, often people will come with a physical goal. Like, I want to lose weight. I want to tone up. I want to tighten, or this, that, the other. In my experience, I find that those clients, those people, they are the most hesitant towards the mindset work,
Mhm.
but they're the ones who need it the most.
Agreed. Yeah.
So I'm curious, maybe with this specific client or with other ones, were there moments where she or whoever else was like, no, like, let's just go out, back to the floor, back to the mat. Like, let me try this thing. Did you have that
Oh
experience?
yeah, definitely. She
Yeah.
definitely pushed back a little bit. Like sometimes we would like be starting in a practice and then she'd be like, well, can we do this instead? And I'm like, we're getting there, you know? Like you definitely have to like work with people. And of course, like, it's their practice. So I want to do, like, and I'm sure with you and your clients as well, you want to cater to what they want, but also like give them that little extra like bonus layer of like things that you think that could really help evolve that and like round out what you're offering them.
Totally. I call that being kind versus being nice.
Yeah.
Being nice is giving them what they want, being kind is giving them what they need.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, people, they don't like kindness in the moment. But after the fact, they're like, "Oh, yeah, actually, that was really helpful. Thank you."
Yeah.
Like, it takes them, like, a few months. They're like, "Oh, that's why you did that."
They start to see it,
Yeah.
right? Totally. And it was similar with her too. Like after the practice, sometimes she'd be like, "Oh, I'm actually really relaxed now." And I'm like,
Yeah.
I love
And the teacher. So, in your journey, I mean, again, it's been over 10 years since you did your initial training. What was the thing that truly inspired you to start Align?
So yeah. Yeah, going back to kind of that initial piece of like not knowing who I was as a person, that was very much of a journey in the beginning. And it really fed into being a teacher as well. Like I really dealt with like imposter syndrome and being like, what do I actually have to offer as a teacher? Like what am I doing that's different from anyone else? Like why do people care type thing. So it was very much a journey of just like stepping into myself as a teacher in the seat of the teacher and like getting to know my own voice. And it really, the catalyst itself was 2 years ago. I felt extremely lost. Like I had basically completed everything that I wanted to complete on that goals list, right? Like I went to university, I did my teacher training, I got the corporate job, and it's like tick, tick, tick. Okay, all those things are done. And I found myself at the end of that road being like, crap, like what's next? Like, I don't know. I've done the things that I said I would do. Like, I felt like very much lost in time and space. And so really had to take a moment of reflection on my life and being like, what, like, I've just felt such a disturbance in my body, like, so, like, like, just out of alignment,
Yeah, yeah.
basically. And so, yeah, it was really like that uncovering of discomfort of being like, okay, I've done the things I've set out to do, but I don't feel like I'm actually in alignment with my life. Like it doesn't feel like those pieces are falling into place. I just felt lost in terms of like the direction that I was going in. And so it really came back to like the initial goals that I kind of wanted as a yoga teacher. And it really kind of took that like remembering of what I had wanted to do with this practice. And again, like it took a long time for me to find my voice as a teacher. And so probably, I guess that's like 7, 8 years ago, I felt like I had really started stepping into that place and felt like I really had something to offer people from my own experience. And so within that same time period, I started dealing with like like again, extreme amount of anxiety. And so it is just again coming back to like those tools that I developed within my own practice that really helped me to like realign, set my pace again, and like make conscious choices that are going to be putting me onto the path in terms of where I want to go rather than just ticking off the boxes that I said I would do, right? And that I feel like kind of society tells us to do.
To talk about that so
Yeah.
much. And thank you for sharing too, because I know that if anyone takes anything, that's probably one of the most relatable things that people listening, majority of the world listening, they do the same thing where they go to school, they get the job,
Yep.
they back to high school are asked, what are you going to be when you grow up? And I know it's from a place of trying to set people up for success, but on the other side of the same coin, it's like defining that success for you. And I know as a feeler, as a healer, success, it's more internal. And I think we can relate to that. It's that feeling of alignment. And if you're not feeling that, if you're listening to this and you're not feeling that alignment in your life, it doesn't matter how many more external things you check off, you're probably still not going to feel it
Yep.
until you listen to that voice, which is terrifying, right? To listen to that thing that's like,
Yeah.
hey, lean into courage, lean into this thing that, your intuition is screaming from the rooftops, try this, try that.
Yeah.
So I think that's so inspiring that you listen to that because I know how hard it is too to listen and to lean in. And now you've developed something, an app.
Yes.
And I want to talk about also the more like tangible, like businessy side of things too,
Like,
because that's just, it's me and I'm curious. What actually goes into developing an app?
I mean, so much that I did not even realize actually. The website was the first thing, because you need just, like, a place to house everything. Yeah, website, but also, like, just gaining a community, I think is, like, the biggest thing in terms of starting any sort of business. As you know, like, you are so good at creating community and, like, bringing people together. I think, like, that you really, like, need to start with, like, laying that groundwork, I would say, because there's so many different offerings out there, so many different people, and, like, all have value. But people connect with you because of you and your personality and how you connect with them. So I think like that's the main thing is definitely like that community basis. But in terms of like the more like I guess technical side of things in creating the content is of course like the time it takes to film everything. So having a setup for that, coming up with like the structure of the classes that I want to offer, the content that I want to offer on the platform, and then the time it takes to edit everything in editing software, download everything onto the computer, re-upload it onto somewhere that the videos will be housed, and then making sure that that is then transferred to the website. So there's multiple different steps that kind of go into it, and that's just all kind of like the back end work. So like honestly for me, the time it takes to film, edit, upload is probably like 4 hours for one class,
For one class.
depending how long the class is.
Yeah. I appreciate that share. And I like to ask these questions. I mean, mainly because I'm curious, but also I think there's so many people who are like, I want to start a side hustle. I want to start a business. I want to start, something. And please do it.
Yeah.
Please dream. Please want those things. And also know that it's hard. There's
So much harder
lot.
than you think.
Yeah, there's so much that goes into it.
Totally.
But I think that like it loops around to the fact that it's also so fulfilling
Yeah.
because you're the one doing it. You're the one who's like, whether you've designed it all or had some help, like you've designed this thing.
Yeah.
You've poured your love, your heart, your soul into this class. And then you like just blood, sweat, and tears into the editing process, right? Like it's all of it. And so there's that process, which I mean, that's all we need to know about developing an app. That's not this conversation today. But then there's the platform, there's the app, there's a line. If someone is like, you know what, I would love to have access to a yoga app, why should they? This is your pitch.
Yeah.
Why should they have your app? Like, tell us what's cool about it.
Totally. I mean, again, like Align was really born out of a place of feeling really lost and like out of alignment in a lot in my life. And again, the logo itself really is self-explanatory because it's like offset. So like alignment is very much, it seems like it should be a linear path that's straight and narrow, but it's not. It's very much twists and turns and curves. And so I think we can all kind of relate in the sense that like your path towards kind of finding your direction is not one straight line. So, like, this platform is very much for the people that may feel out of alignment in their life, but that don't have the grounding tools to like come back to themselves in order to maybe reassess or like check in with what I'm doing is actually serving the direction that I want to go in. So yes, it's a yoga platform, but it's also very much like an embodiment platform. So, like there's yoga classes, yes, but it's very much like tools that you can come back to yourself with to help you feel more connected, less lost, and like you have that sense of like purpose. So it's more than just like the movement practice, it's what the movement provides you. And so like there's the yoga, there's the breath work, there's the meditation, there's kriyas, and there's somatic practices. So the platform really is for people who are busy or on the go and may not have time to commute to and from a studio, or maybe the studio times don't work for someone. So it really is about like connecting to these practices in a way that's really accessible to you. I love a home practice so much. Like, I love being able to move in my sweatpants, no makeup on, and like have a tea by my mat. And it's like just so wonderful to be in the space of your own cozy home and own practice and not have to worry about the comparison piece in a room. And it's just like you and your body on your mat. And so, like, I really wanted to offer these tools to people in a way that meets them where they're at, in a way that is accessible. And you can just flip open your laptop or your phone whenever you feel like you just need to come back to yourself.
I love it. And I think I mean, as you were speaking, I was like, I wish I had this like years ago when I was really struggling. Like, honestly, I hear all of this and to really not like take away, but I guess relate a little
Mhm.
bit. I don't even know how many years ago. If you've listened to all my podcasts, I'm like 4 years, maybe. Like, I don't know, however
Time is
long
a
ago.
warp.
Yeah, time is weird. Time is a concept. But years ago, I was in like the deepest depression, which I'll talk about on another episode. But I was not okay. I was so low. And at the end of my day, I was working a 9 to 5 or an 8 to 4, or whatever you want to call it. At the end of my day, I would sit on my floor and I would breathe,
Mhm.
and I would breathe for 5 minutes. I would set just a timer on my phone. There was, I'm sure, access to like a YouTube or like a Spotify, something, but it wasn't all in one place. It was like I'd have to search for it. And I think if you've experienced super dark depression or anxiety, you know that your brain is not in the place to be wanting to search for that. You just want accessibility, you want something easy. So I go back to me then, back then, if I would have had access to your app where I can just like open up this thing and be like, oh, I can just like breathe here and
Mhm.
like for 5 minutes have someone it feels like I'm with, like with
Yeah.
me in the room, that would have been amazing. So I see the value, like I incredible amounts of value that you have there. And also knowing that you're in such early stages of it too. And early in the sense that like you built it recently and launched it recently,
Yeah.
but also there's these years of heart and soul that is going into everything. I think that's so inspiring. Okay. So, say there is someone who comes to you, maybe they come to the app or they want to come work with you privately. They're feeling quite disconnected to themselves, similar to how you have, how I have, whether it's physically, emotionally, spiritually. What's one way that yoga can help them begin to reconnect?
Yeah. I would say, like, it does start with the body. It does start with the embodiment practices and, like, tuning into the sensations that are coming through the body, but it all really starts about like landing in the present moment, right? Like everything is happening here. And I think oftentimes the mind loves to race into the future and plan towards the future, but it also loves to dwell into the past. But like really all we have is this moment here. So, I mean, I think the yoga practice itself helps you really tune into that sense of embodiment and like the space that you get to take up in this moment. It helps you to slow down and not rush from one thing to a next. And like, again, kind of like we were talking about the whole societal thing, like
Mhm.
society tells us to rush
Yeah.
and to do all of the things and glorifies being busy. And so, yeah, like the practice itself is really just, it helps me slow down. It helps me to kind of like we were saying before, like find that courage and to really just tune into myself.
Yeah, definitely the embodiment piece. And, I want to talk about society a little bit
Yeah, please.
because we're society.
Yeah.
Like, and that's been like an aha moment I've had in the last couple of weeks is like, I've been griping on society, this, society, that, but
Mhm.
like, we are society.
Yep.
And it seems like, this conversation is coming up more frequently. That's like, yeah, society's telling us this, society's telling us that. How do we stop that? How do we say like, "Hey, like we are that," and maybe you haven't thought about this, but why do you think that is that society is pressuring us to rush through every single moment
Yeah.
constantly? And how do you think we can stop or slow that?
I mean, it's a good question. I feel like so many different factors go into it. Like, it's definitely, I think, a generational thing
Mhm.
first. Like, I think our parents had to very much work hard for what they have now, and that took hustle. So I think that's one thing. I also think, like, social media is a whole other side of it. Of course, like, everyone is constantly looking online and seeing everyone be so successful and like have all the things and doing all of the things that for myself at least, creates comparison and feels like I'm not doing enough. So it makes you kind of want to like rush and like
Mhm.
complete the things so it looks like you have your shit together. I also think it's just like who we surround ourselves with though too. as someone who lives in the corporate world, but also in the yoga world, there's two sides of the coin. And so, like in business, everything needs to get done right away, or it's late, right?
Mhm.
So I just think it's kind of ingrained in us to continue moving to the next thing. Like once one target is hit, you go to the next target. And there's not, I personally don't feel like there's enough time to really just enjoy meeting that target, you know?
Mhm.
And so in terms of like how to stop it or how to, I guess, slow it down, I just think it comes back to the tools, the practices, who you choose to spend your time with, and like taking a moment to stop and be like, wow, the sky looks beautiful today. Like there's not a cloud in the sky. Like it's like little things like that, like little mindfulness tools that really help to like slow time down. And it's like those embodiment tools, like your breath comes with you at every moment of the day and is often very an unconscious practice, but can be very conscious.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think it's like rooting into the tools that help feel like time slowed down, because I saw a quote recently that was like, it's not that time is moving fast, it's that we're moving fast.
Yes.
Like was a
Preach.
for me.
It's so true, and I love that quote. I'm gonna probably replay that back right
Yep.
now. Um, our breath, that's one too, that as a teacher and too in my own practice, the pace of our breath is the pace of our life.
Yes.
That's what I love to say, because if we aren't connected to these tools that are inside of us, then everything seems so fast. We're hyperventilating, we're rushing, we're on to the next thing. And I like that you exist in both of those worlds too, of both corporate and yoga. So you can
Yeah.
see the polarity, the yin and the yang
Oh yeah.
of both of them. But you're like developing your toolbox to be able to exist and live and handle the faster pace. Because I realize I asked that from a place of like probably extreme of like, how do we stop it? I don't think we need to entirely stop it.
Yeah.
I think it's the world and evolution and how things operate. You're right with what you said of like, okay, what do you want to be around more often? Who do you surround yourself by? You can't entirely, I mean, you could isolate from that portion of the world, but then it's like chasing enlightenment to kind of look at it like as a Buddhist monk who like goes and lives in a monastery somewhere and
Yeah.
they're just like away from it all.
Extreme.
Yeah, which is, I mean, sure, you could do it, but then are you really experiencing humanness, the
Yeah.
human experience to full potential? So,
Totally.
yeah,
Have their place, to be honest. Like
yeah.
it's not that it's bad. I just think like when you're so caught up in the whirlwind of that the point gets lost, you know?
Mhm.
Like when you're constantly in that hypervigilant state of like heart racing, mind racing, shallow breathing, your body is telling you to move faster because it's like you've ingrained that like autonomic system to be moving that way. But when, again, we have those tools to come back and you're able to kind of create these like new neural pathways and like re-regulation techniques, then your body does actually want to slow down and it actually like craves more of that slowness and that peace. So it's like, yeah, definitely like push hard for those goals and like move towards them, and if it takes like moving faster to do that, great. And if you're like in the hustle of a job, amazing. If it feels like you're in alignment and in purpose with what you want to be doing, then that's amazing. But there's also like take the time to slow down and reflect and like also enjoy what's happening right here versus like always moving to the next thing.
Yeah. No, I love how you worded that. And I've told you before, I love how you articulate things, especially in your yoga classes. If you guys are local to Calgary, go to Lauren's classes. She is such a good teacher. Sorry to blast you, but you're here.
You're so sweet.
Yeah. Seriously.
No, I
Like
appreciate
so
that.
so good at articulating. It's like such philosophical stuff, but it makes sense to
I hope so.
I mean a yoga mind. It does. Maybe there's people listening and they're like,
What?
freaking weirdos. Like, what
Yeah. Yeah.
are you talking about? But that's
Hey, once you crack it open.
no.
And sometimes I'm like, I don't even know what I'm saying is making sense, but
I know. I know. Sometimes in class, I'm like, I'm just gonna see what comes out of my mouth. And then
totally.
after class, people are like, "You were so wise." I'm like, I don't even know what I just
Yeah.
said.
But that's the intuition piece. Like, that's when you know your intuition is coming through. And like, that is like a muscle that needs to be worked. Like, everyone has intuition. It's more about tapping into that intuition.
And that's where that trust piece comes in
Yeah.
too, which is like kind of back to where we started. Yes, the intuition, like that internal, that higher self, it usually doesn't make sense with the checklist of things
Yeah.
that is external. I mean, ego is the house and the car and the job and whatnot. But I think, ooh, I would love to ask you a little bit about this ego versus higher self, like external versus higher self. Many people will say, like, kill the ego, gotta kill the ego. I say befriend the ego.
Completely agree.
Do you agree?
Absolutely.
How would you explain ego and like internal higher self to someone who is like,
Yeah.
I have no idea what either of those are?
Totally. I love this topic. Like, for me, ego feels like it's loud. It's in your face. It constantly wants more. It tells you that what you have is not enough. It's like, it's always just like that more, 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 more. It's that hustle piece. It's that rushing piece that feels like, to me, ego feels like a very fast vibration if we're talking about like energetics. Whereas the higher self is so much softer. It's like, I speak about this in my class sometimes, like, it's more of a whisper, to be honest, because like the ego wants to be loud, it wants to be in the forefront. And the higher self is like within you, but it kind of needs to be remembered and found and rediscovered and listened to. The ego is like that constant chatter in the mind, and the higher self is like the soft whisper nudging you, and like that kind of tether that you feel drawn towards something. Like, you can't really explain it, but you feel like drawn towards going towards something. And oftentimes, like, the higher self doesn't speak to you in words, it speaks to you in felt sense.
Oh, I love that description. I see that too. See, I explain it a different way in my mind, but I can see that like that ego is that loud, like almost like I want to say trauma. It's like trauma versus intuition. Like, is this a trauma response or is this like an intuitive voice inside telling me and guiding me?
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of how I heard it from you a little bit. The way I look at ego is it's external. It's this meat suit that we wear. When we look in the mirror, what we see, that's our external, that's our ego. Wow, you're beautiful. Okay, are you seeing my, hair and eyelashes and makeup? Or the higher self, which is the internal, it's that which you can't see. It's the thing beneath these layers that we've built up over time in the form of traumas that have happened to us, experiences, heartbreak, loss, grief. We've built this up, which often shows up, again, still talking about ego, in the form of drive towards something, towards, I've got to get the house, I've got to get the car, I need, it's like fast, kind of similar. But underneath that is that higher self, which trusts that what feels right, language is so important. I know you're the same with language.
Yeah.
What feels right is okay. And it doesn't make sense. Ego makes sense. Oh, everyone's doing this, so I do it. Higher self doesn't make sense, but it knows that things will be okay and it turns out right. And so, again, not that you've got to kill the ego, but see the ego as this friend because it's part of you. Like, if I didn't have this meat suit, my body, I love that meat suit. What would I be? I'd be just like this spirit floating around. So this is my home. I've got to befriend it. I've got to love it as it is. I befriend it, but I see that I am so much more than just this. I am not just my body. That's kind of my description of it.
Yeah. I love
Sounds
that though.
similar.
And it makes so much sense because you're right. Like, the ego is in this realm. Like you said, like the higher self is more like the soul aspect. And they have to work together because you're here, your body is here.
Yeah, totally. And I think, again, it's probably the extremes is like, it's really disconnecting the two. And I don't know about you, but maybe through that anxiety you had when you were younger, you probably felt a little disconnected.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so
Definitely.
seeing them as working together, which yoga is a beautiful way to find that. We love
Yes.
yoga.
Do highly recommend.
Would recommend. We're going to wrap up because we have been chatting for quite some time. So just some final questions. Looking back on your journey so far, what has been, this is a big question, what has been the greatest lesson that yoga has taught you?
I think for me, yoga, it's so many things. I would say like really tuning into what matters and finding purpose, to be honest. Yeah, like again, I think I won't go off on a tangent on this again, but I think we can get caught up in certain pressures of life. And I think yoga just continues to teach me like what matters, what's right in front of me. And yeah, and giving me like that sense of purpose that what I'm doing actually means something.
I love that. Purpose.
Purpose.
I mean, that's a big one too. And probably another conversation we could have is
Oh
like
yeah.
talking about purpose.
Oh my God. Huge. Like such a journey
Yeah.
for purpose.
But that's a huge lesson too, to have been taught. And I know there's people listening who maybe feel a lack of purpose or they don't know what their purpose is. And they've had that question, what is it? What is my purpose? I know I've asked it and I've felt like I found it and I felt like I've lost it. Like I think it's a bit of a journey, but just another reason to sit with yourself through yoga, through meditation, through breath work is like maybe if that is your question, that could be the lesson that you learn too. So thanks for sharing that. I
Yeah.
think that's powerful.
Thank you.
Last question. I like to ask everyone this question, mainly because of my own curiosity. How do you define success in your life?
I love this question. For me, success is defined by the joy that I have in my life, to be honest. Like it's like that sense of happiness that I have everything that I need. I feel purposeful and fulfilled in what I'm doing. And like, I feel free, honestly. Like success feels like freedom to me.
I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to find you, maybe local or online or your app, plug away.
I would love to. So yeah, my website is laurenmackayyoga.com. I have to spell my last name because everyone spells it MCK. It's Mackay. Sorry, just to be specific.
Love it.
And my Instagram is Align Yoga Now, specifically for the platform, but my personal yoga account is just Lauren's Yoga.
Wonderful. Wow, that's a Lauren's Yoga, the way you got that.
Yeah.
The only Lauren. The only Lauren. She got it. That's amazing. I love it. Sweet. Kate, we will put those in the show notes below. Thank you so much for this conversation.
So much.
Yes, it was. All right. Peace and love.